From complex concepts spawning several songs to simple concepts that create cozy, intimate experiences that basically feel like getting a warm hug after work, to even perfect nods to the 80s and 90s music, not to mention the hours of outstanding performances, there was no shortage of quality coming from Seiyu artists and 2D groups in 2022. And it's the time to celebrate the best albums by 2D groups and Seiyu artists released in 2022 and decide which is the album of the year. Let's kick off this episode of Seiyu Lounge. Welcome to Seiyu Lounge, I am your host Vanessa and today's topic is the best albums released by Seiyu artists and 2D groups in 2022. I love to wrap up the year with a talk about the albums that were in constant repeat for me since I got to review them. Some of these are fairly recent, others were released really early in the year. And some of these albums explore so many music genres, yet they remain surprisingly consistent throughout. Something that impressed me a whole lot. There were performances that put a smile on my face, and others that almost made me cry given how emotional they were. Truth is, in case you're wondering, the albums released in 2022 were pure quality. The best Seiyu fans got since 2020, which was a bloody amazing year music-wise. So let's celebrate the top 10 best albums of 2022 by male Seiyu artists and 2D groups. And yes, every entry in this episode is ranked, so prepare yourself for tough choices from me. As always, the top is a result of my personal opinion after reviewing hundreds of CDs this year, way too many to count. And I still have plenty in my pile of shame left to review. So, you're welcome to share with me and other viewers of Seiyu Lounge which are your top 10 picks or which is your album of the year and why. Now, without further ado, let's start this top. Number 10. Idolish 7 with Opus. 2022 kicked off in the best way possible. Idolish 7, now with a mature pop sound, arrived with its second full-length album, Opus, and immediately stole the show, in what ended up being a ridiculously awesome year for both the septet and the franchise itself. Idolish 7 pushed the envelope with Opus, a close to perfect sophomore album that highlights the growth and struggles the group has gone through and their passions and determination for the future. Going through this album, especially as a fan of the project, you'll have a lot of nostalgia going on as songs like Sakura Message and Party Time Together start playing, and feel incredibly proud of their growth in songs like Nagisa Night Temperature and Boys and Girls. There are emotional moments in Hatsukoe Rhythm and the new minimalistic acoustic R&B tune, Everything Is Up to Us. These and other songs, most fan favorites, make this album shine in Idolish 7's repertoire and show everyone just how much the group has grown while hinting at even more growth and a mature vibe for their music in future releases. This is the perfect example of how a 2D group should mature while retaining its essence, its trademark vibe, and it was pulled off near flawlessly. Number 9. Mamoru Miano with The Entertainment. I've said it countless times that The Entertainment isn't at its core a new album. Yes, it is a new entry in Miano's repertoire, but the brunt of the CD is composed of previously released songs, which makes it sort of a best-of album with bonus new tracks. But I've also said I love Miano singing a whole lot. I've got a fondness for him as he was the Seiyu artist that drove me into now creating content about male Seiyu music. So there was no way I wouldn't check this album. And deep down, I was expecting to be impressed by the new songs, something that happened. Mamoru Miano's The Entertainment is a stylish entry that perfectly encompasses who he is as an artist. A true entertainer that loves what he does, but also an entertainer that knows how to sing insanely well. Throughout its 12 songs, Miano revisits old hit songs such as Zero to Infinity, Dream On, Hikari Sasuhoe, Tome, Last Dance, Encore, and new tunes, showing his growth as an artist in the past couple of years. When The Entertainment wraps up, you're left with a big, dorky smile on your face and feel the love and care that is in all those performances. While far from being his best album to date, this is a perfect showcase of where Miano is now in his career, encompassing a unique period in a set of near-perfect songs. Had this album been more than half of new songs, and it would instantly rise to my top 3 best albums of 2022. But as it is, it sits at number 9, a fantastic spot for an album that left me wanting more and more from Mamoru Miano's music. Number 8. Daisuke Ono with Sounds of Love. Daisuke Ono has been on a good spell as of late. The talented seiyuu and solo artist tried something completely different in 2022 by bringing alongside him the legendary a cappella group, the Gospelers. With that being said, Ono's sound shifted just slightly to accommodate a more melodic and sweeter sound instead of the still electronica and disco-heavy music in his repertoire. Sounds of Love is a beautiful concept mini-album from Daisuke Ono. Love is at center stage, with every song in this album giving off sweet, passionate vibes, taking you by the hand to beautiful and gentle soundscapes. In the composition team, Ono counted with the help of the legendary Gospelers and at the same time the best singer among male seiyuu, Toshiyuki Toyonaga. When it came to the guests, Ono brought Rena Ueda and Wataru Hatano for 2 unique performances overflowing with emotion. To tie all songs together, this time around, Daisuke Ono mixed drama tracks that serve as an introduction to the stories that will unfold in the following songs. This created a unique dynamic when listening to this album, at least the full physical album. It feels almost like you're being told a story, and the songs are just the intermission between chapters of said story. Although this is a sleeper for many people, Daisuke Ono managed to impress with this unique concept mini-album, for me being up there with the best albums released in 2022. Number 7. Tasuku Hatanaka with Real. Another sleeper among the CDs that were released in 2022, yet one that entertained me a whole lot to the point that I want to listen to it again as I wrote, or basically as I record this episode. After almost a year of radio silence, Tasuku Hatanaka finally released new music, and no less with a full-length album. Real encompasses and closes another phase in Tasuku Hatanaka's solo career, one marked by experimentation and growth both as a performer and singer. The intro and outro tracks are stunners. They create hype for the CD and leave the listener with a nostalgic note, making you unconsciously hit that replay button just so that you can experiencing it all again. Out of the new songs, Feel the Real, Solid and Unreal are the most impressive. Feel the Real is a good introduction to this album, summing up the energy that is going on in it. Solid is insanely groovy as a stylish retro sound that lends some elements from city pop and synthwave, creating a dreamy tune that stands out as the best song in this CD. And Unreal brought a little bit of surrealism to this release, something that I was not expecting at all. Out of the old tunes, Twisted Hearts continues to be the highlight in this phase in Hatanaka's solo career. It is regal, it is dark and elegant. It is synthwave at its best with some of the biggest vocals on top. This is a song that will go down as his best, at least I believe so. Real is a solid entry in his repertoire and an album well worth checking out if you enjoy energetic pop with a dash of darkness and an emotional edge on top. Number 6. Erosion, Dancing on the Edge. Erosion has been consistently releasing awesome rock albums after awesome rock albums. This sort of consistency is quite impressive, however, at the same time, it isn't. Even if badly managed, 2D music projects housed by Reject are known for being consistent in their sound and quality, and then you look and listen to Erosion's lineup and you just admire it. 5 vocals, all with unique tonalities and strengths, all in perfect harmony and creating some of the most powerful performances in the last couple of years. Dancing on the Edge arrives as the last entry in the Erosion with You from Carnelian Blood CD series, with Toxin, voiced by Shoya Chiba, front and center for the band song, and then leading the way with Haksha in the solo track. Haksha is single-handedly one of the most impressive things in terms of composition and performance together. It is love metal center stage, and Shoya Chiba got up there, grabbed the microphone, and delivered a mesmerizing performance completely in faux baritone style with clear influences of Visual Kei and musical style. As you go through the story in Haksha, you're left empty and emotionally drained. This song is a goodbye. And Erosion's new band song, Dancing on the Edge, balances things up by bringing a really groovy rock sound with a playful tune. While not the band's best song to date, this is a rock-solid entry in their repertoire. And as such, Dancing on the Edge is a perfect closer to what is one of the most impressive CD collections by 2D music project or group released in 2022. And it is definitely one of the best entries in Erosion's repertoire. Number 5. Sparklu with Neon. 2022 was a golden year of transformation and further growth for the now talented quartet. Sparklu released the groovy and retro-sounding album Neon, and I can only say that the album not only matched but also exceeded my expectations. Shun Horie had hinted early in the year that this was going to be the most eclectic album the group had ever released, and it is exactly what fans were presented with. Neon will please both fans of bubbly pop and fast-paced rock. It has both sides of the spectrum, and for each of the songs in this album, all members rose to the occasion, showcasing their improved teamwork as well as every little bit they grew individually as singers. Whether it was rock, pop, jazz, ballads, dance, or hip-hop, Sparklu shows that the change that happened in tone and concept in Daybreak only brought good things to them. Matured, improved, showing their skills without the restrictions of bubbly pop, the group shows that it is ready to take the crown of Best Seiyu Unit to itself. As it is, Neon is a fancy album showing a further matured sound, improved vocals, and overall versatility by Sparklu. It is a confident display of their personality as a group and the talents they have. It is a diamond among all albums released this year by Seiyu artists and groups. It is one of my albums of the year. Number 4. Gyroaxia with Freestyle. Gyroaxia has been turning into one of the best rock bands fronted by Seiyu, slowly distancing itself from its 2D roots now that it made its major debut under Universal Music Japan. And while Freestyle initially divided the fanbase due to its alternative rock sound versus its original punk rock or hardcore sound, I feel it is one of the most amazing albums released to date by a 2D rock band or even rock band fronted by Seiyu. It is growth, maturity as a band in full display. It is a statement of intent in album format, and it is bloody awesome. Freestyle has a muscular, intense rock sound in which all members shine at all times. From the intricate drum parts to the shredding guitar riffs, the groovy, dirty bass lines, and those powerful and raw vocals. As you go through the songs in Freestyle, you'll encounter banger after banger. Plenty of songs made for the mosh pit with an infectious energy that suits the band like a glove. Hard to pick a favorite track in this mini album. Still, I'm quite partial to New Era, as I love shock rock and the band absolutely nailed that attempt at this specific rock subgenre. Really, if you're a rock fan, especially aggressive, fast-paced rock, Freestyle is a treat. Gianca Sawara's vocals have improved a whole lot. You can tell that in the little details in his performances, such as the breathing, the legato, the crescendos, and even the way he switches around screamo, clean singing, and rapping. His control and consistency across all songs show that Gyroaxia will only continue to dazzle on the vocal end. And let's not even dive into the instrumentals. The drums continue to be my absolute favorite part of Gyroaxia's music, and in Freestyle, they are bonkers. Freestyle is incisive, aggressive when it needs to be, and emotional, sometimes incredibly raw in its display of emotions. And it experiments with various rock subgenres, showcasing just how versatile this band truly is. This is no longer a band creating aggressive music just because. This is a band on a mission and with a good, focused rock sound that appeals to many, yet retains its essence. As a massive fan of rock music, Gyroaxia's Freestyle impressed me a whole lot, and honestly, got me begging for more. Number 3. Shunichi Toki with Good 4. This was an instant favorite of mine. Shunichi Toki's Good 4 is so unbelievably good that I don't even know where to start talking about it, really. Shunichi Toki went for the perfect homage to the sounds of the 70s, 80s and 90s in the groovy first album, Good 4. As someone that was born in the early 90s and grew up listening to music from the 70s and the 80s, this album feels like a return to those simpler, cozier times. It felt, and in a way it still feels, nostalgic to me. But don't expect this album to be a one-trick pony. There is a lot of depth, various music genres explored from funk to jazz, ballads, ska and city pop. Expect a really consistent album with plenty of jazz and funk leading the way, or used as undertones for all songs. From the majestic, classy sound in non-fictional to the throwback 90s hip-hop sound in Original Scenery, easily my favorite song in this CD, or the neon-lit soundscape in Home, Toki impresses with laid-back, warm and punchy soundscapes. And when it comes to the singing, Shunichi Toki continues to impress with how smooth he always is. His control is ridiculous, his technique is second to none, and of course, his musical sensibility shows in the way he tackles any music genre he performs. Shunichi Toki shows a lot of growth and maturity as a solo artist, delivering a consistent album with Good 4. He paid the perfect and respectful homage to the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s music, taking the listener through a memorable sonic experience. If it wasn't for the usual suspect that you may be predicting who he is, Shunichi Toki's Good 4 would have been my album of the year. absolutely masterful from start to finish. Number 2, Soma Saito with Yin Yang. This one was hard. As you may have noticed, I just listed Soma Saito's brilliant Yin Yang as number 2 in these top best albums of the year. Crazy, right? This is such a great EP, genius even, but not on the level of the number 1 pick for me. So let's talk a bit about Yin Yang, shall we? The human condition. This is the big theme of this EP. This is right off the bat an insanely difficult and complex concept in sociology and psychology, much less trying to make it bloom in music format. On a first listen, Yin Yang seems like a collection of disjointed songs that only represent the light and dark sides of the main concept. However, the depth that this EP has is something that took me a full week of listening to it to no end, reading about the concept and then returning to it every time with a different theory in my mind. It was like that until everything clicked with me and the concept went full circle, finally making sense as a story. I don't kid around when I say that this is the most niche and complex that Saito has, so far, gone with his music. And I love it a whole lot, but it was also the first time I took a week to review a CD, so it's insanely complex, despite not looking nor sounding like it. In Yin Yang, you go from the creation of paradise to its turning into pure hell to its destruction by its creator, Saint Obsession, the story's narrator, and basically Soma Saito's persona in this EP. The EP is a roller coaster ride of pure madness, glee, and power, showing that instead of light and dark sides, people inherently have both light and darkness intertwined. Everything you do will have equal parts dark and light, and that will influence those around you in different ways. In a way, this makes the stakes in Yin Yang much higher than expected story-wise for you, the story's protagonist. This duality shows, through Soma Saito's lens, that humans are both good and evil, and while you see in songs such as Hae no O that good intentions may quickly turn into pure anarchy and death, you then have Kazahana and Mirrors, in which you have humans realizing how broken they are because of others, but mostly and firstly because of themselves. This despair that comes with that while you, the protagonist, lie to yourself that everything is okay and that you love everything, including pain, while harboring deep hatred for yourself or others, is visceral. And then Soma Saito as Saint Obsession, the creator of that paradise that ended up corrupted and broken, arrives to set fire to everything you destroyed, including yourself. And it is time to start again. The cycle continues, but the gasoline is nowhere to be found should history repeat itself in the next cycle. I think this is a genius EP. The storytelling had me glued to my seat, trying to unveil more of what was happening until I understood what Saito wanted listeners to feel when listening to Yin Yang. This is up there with In Bloom and My Beautiful Valentine when it comes to the sheer quality of the storytelling. And songwriting-wise, he absolutely continues to sweep me off my feet with visceral performances and emo rock tunes that pull my heartstrings while overflowing with nostalgia. Yin Yang is brilliant, and I believe that had it been released a couple of months ago, and had I spent as much time with it as the number 1 entry in this feature, this would be my album of the year. But as it is... Album of the Year, My Beautiful Valentine by Soma Saito. My album of the year is the mind-breaking, surrealistic EP, My Beautiful Valentine. Just what an EP this one is. While the concept was insanely easy to grasp in comparison to Yin Yang, The story is not as straightforward and goes really dark real quick. This is, up until now, Soma Saito's darkest entry in his repertoire. One that is hauntingly beautiful in its compositions, has a unique soundscape at all times ready for you to immerse yourself, and has lyrics that will reach the depths of your heart with minimal effort. My Beautiful Valentine is a descent into madness, pleasure, desire, darkness, all carefully crafted by the genius storyteller that is Soma Saito. Each song is a chapter in that alternative reality, in that fevered dream. Pain and pleasure go hand in hand as you go through the songs in this EP, letting darkness seep through, embrace you, and lead the way to your demise. And if that wasn't enough to pique your interest, Saito was addressing you since the start. You are the protagonist in this story, trying to break away from this dream turned into a nightmare. And there's something absolutely genius about the fourth wall breaking happenings present in this EP, a first for Soma Saito. The beginning of his Joker side as a writer. He plays around with you and your expectations, letting you fill in the gaps as he sees fit, and then delivering a blow that will leave you in tatters. My Beautiful Valentine shows that Soma Saito is not afraid at all to take his chances and craft a story spawning several chapters, hiding his true intentions until the bonus track arrives and hits you like a truck. It has started to be a staple of his, and one thing I love, among the many I do, that when you listen to a Soma Saito CD, you are not just listening to a CD. You are waiting for a story. You want to experience a tale, no matter how twisted it is. And Saito delivers that in an insanely high level of quality, time and time again. When I stopped to listen to this EP, I was on the edge of my seat with every single detail in it. I was immersed in the story. I wanted more and more. I wanted to know its ending. Listening to My Beautiful Valentine felt like reading a book. However, one that doesn't truly come to a close. Perhaps intentionally to leave you wondering what happens to the protagonist, you, after Kudryavka. Was this all a dream? What is reality? What happened to this protagonist? Did they escape that nightmare? Did they let desire take the best of them? My Beautiful Valentine is a twisted, surrealistic fever dream that explores the deepest and darkest sides of your psyche, dealing a blow so powerful that you weren't even expecting as the bonus track rolls in. In my eyes and ears, My Beautiful Valentine is a masterpiece, right there alongside the stunner that was, and still is, in bloom, and with Yin Yang not that far away. "2022 wraps up on a fantastic note. There were so many awesome albums being released this year, and I believe some I have yet to hear. And the performances were on a level that I was not expecting. I expected high, but not this high. Seiyu are really giving their all, some of them expressing their passion for singing and even songwriting through intricate compositions, concept albums, or even through the most technical of performances. And you and I, as fans, get to experience these all. The joy, the nostalgia, the pain, anger, sadness, and love. We get to experience all of these emotions through amazing songs that were, and still are for some of you, the soundtrack to your days. We all get to be characters in the stories created by our favorite Seiyu artists. Isn't that amazing? I know for sure that these albums have been on heavy rotation on my end, and if I could relive the very first time I heard them, I would do so in a heartbeat and fall in love with them yet again. I love the thrill of listening to something for the very first time, falling in love with it and treasuring it. And this year there were so many CDs that had this effect on me, so I'm quite happy and thankful. But enough about me. Which were the albums by 2D Groups released in 2022 that impressed you the most and why? And do you have any favorite albums of the ones released by male seiyuu artists? Let me know in the comments on YouTube. And remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of Seiyuu Lounge. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the Hand That Feeds HQ's weekly male seiyuu and music-related content. I'll return next week with another episode of Seiyuu Lounge. I wish you all a happy new year and thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll see you guys in 2023.